I'm turning 3 of these quartz slabs into kitchen countertops.
What's up guys, I'm Daniel and welcome to my channel, Rare Marble. In this video I'm going to show you how I turn raw quartz slabs into beautiful countertops. So the first step I take in this process is fabricating the edges for the countertops by doing these notches you see me doing here. I space every notch about 2 to 3 inches on the 45-degree profile edge and on the 45-degree edge of the countertop itself. I do this to make sure there's a strong bond between the countertop and the edge when I apply the epoxy adhesive. Once that is done, I make sure to thoroughly clean the cuts with a rag and acetone. This is important because if there's dust there, the glue's not going to adhere well. And just to make sure, I grab the air compressor and just blow away anything that I might have missed. Next part of this process is actually one of my favorite steps, and that's making the color in this epoxy. And if you're wondering what kind of epoxy this is I'm using here, this is called K-Bond Elite, and it's a polyester. Now notice how I'm going to mix white into the glue. That's because it comes with a bit of transparency in it. So I'm just trying to turn it into a solid white before I add the tiniest amount of the actual finish color I need here, which for this particular material it's going to be a beige slash cream color. um, there's no rush into this process, especially when you're mixing for an actual color that's not white. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself and put too much, because before you know it, you've gone past the actual color shade that you need. So slow and steady is the way to go here. Okay, now I'm going to spread the glue onto the 45-degree edges I notched, and I cannot stress enough how important this part is. I want to make sure everything is completely buttered with glue. I'll even put an excessive amount of glue, and I'll just remove it after. I go through both the top and the bottom of the profile and make sure I get it all in those notches that I made earlier. Plenty of glue there. Can't go wrong with extra glue. You cannot go wrong with having extra amount of glue here. I definitely do not want any type of voids on that edge. It's going to determine the strength of this profile. Okay, so once that's done, I go ahead and flip over the 45-degree edge. I have the red duct tape on there already from the dry fit, aka the test fit. So it holds it in place exactly where I need it. Here I'm just taking the time to press against the profile edge real well, making sure I have it nice and square. And then after that's all done, I am going to take my combo square and make sure I have a 90-degree. It's nice and flat. Keep adjusting if I need to. Keep pressing. And this is a little trick my buddy showed me. I duct tape the square right up to the edge so it doesn't move on me. And then I go ahead and just reassure that it's nice and tight, very strong. Okay, good to go. Remove any excess that bled out while I still have my gloves on. And underneath now, I scrape away all the excess as well. This is really important because when it comes to installing it, you don't want that epoxy down there. That stuff nearly turns into a solid hard rock, which it can really be a problem as you're leveling everything out when you're installing. Okay, so now I grab the razor blades, and razor blades are your best friend when it comes to fabricating. The square blades are very fine and precise to get everything you might have missed on the face of the edge and the top of the countertop. Once that's all nice and clean, double check. I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure I didn't miss anything. Left, right side. You don't want to deal with that later when you're sanding and polishing that tiny radius on that little corner. So grab my second combo square. Make sure I'm still running square everywhere around. Okay, we're good. So I'm just gonna tape down that second combo square as well. That's gonna help give us some extra support there. Okay, everything is all done. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the plastic. and I'm gonna throw my template on there. And I work out of the out of a template. It's just the way to go when it comes to making your kitchen countertops. There's just a smaller margin for error because it pretty much stencils out your cabinet, so I have the exact shape of your kitchen. Here I'm just coring out the corners. I start at the radiuses. Notice how your sinkhole on your kitchen has a radius on the corners. That's done with a diamond core bit you see me using here. I specifically start with the diamond core bit on the sink just because it works also as like a gauge for me. So when I'm cutting it with the blade, I know where to stop. Here I'm going ahead and cut the sides of the sink, which I'm going to stay about a 30-second away from the actual finish line. And that's going to give me a little bit of margin for error. You see my blade right there shooting off some sparks? That's because it's at the last of its life right there. Here's a little sink saver trick I was taught in the trade. You put a flat bar essentially over the countertop and you clamp it to that flat bar, or in this case my level, which I'm sure a bunch of guys are gonna go crazy about in the comment section because I'm using a Stabila level for this sink saver. There it is. It stops the piece from falling. Now I just get the small little chingas I missed. Anything excess that I might have left behind. Then I grab my grinding stone, go ahead and start grinding away with the grinding stone, getting it close to that line, but I'm still staying a 30-second away. That 30-second is going to get eaten up with the polishing pads, the diamond polishing pads I'll use soon, but no, I remove as much as the raw cut that the blade leaves. So that's kind of what the grinding stone is for. You go from like a blade cut finish to like a 80 grit. That's what that is. There's an 80 grit sand. Grinding stone. And that was it. That was it for that grinding stone. That was done. Look, it's not even flat anymore. Okay, so in this part, I have my diamond polishing pad, and that's the first step right there. This is a 3-step process. The first step is like a 50 grit, and I use water. You have to use water in this process just because it's gonna give you an overall smoother finish, smoother look. It's much easier to go with the polishing pad wet, and it's just a game. It's complete. It's like night and day, going dry and wet, in my opinion. It's Joe Rogan. So a lot of touch here. Gotta feel the radiuses. Gotta feel the edges. I don't look at it when I'm touching. I'm just trying to feel for something. See if I feel anything with my hands, my fingers. If I do, I hit it a little bit more, and and get close to that radius. Now, see how I'm removing the polishing pad and resetting it off center? It's hanging off a little bit. That little bit that it's hanging off, it's going to allow the polishing pad to bend a little bit so I could get that radius nicely. If I don't do that and I hit the radius, the polishing pad being so flat against the backing pad, it could accidentally cut into the radius where it's supposed to be, like, turning. So that's the reason I do that. Also got to get rid of the bottom of the cut. There's a little sharpness there. So quick little detour. My buddy Chuletas was done fabricating the island for us, so we're gonna go ahead and just manhandle it up to my truck. Have a little landing pad right there out of carpet. We use carpet a lot. I use carpet a lot. Notice how I have carpet taped up against my A-frame. Okay, big piece goes in first. Just lock it in place with my bar clamp. So we're all good. It's not going to go anywhere. And back to work. I'm inside the sink now. And that gallon, it just has a little hole in the bottom. I poked with the screw, and then I just let it bleed, or I control the air pressure, the water pressure. I'm sorry, just by uncapping it a little bit, twisting it a little bit, opening it, and it allows the water to, you get it. All right, so fast forward, sink is done. It's all nice and polished, giving it one nice touch, making sure I don't feel nothing. It looks good. It feels really good. Okay, this is installation day. I messed up this day. I screwed up because I didn't have my battery charged and I wasn't gonna wait around half an hour to start installing. So unfortunately, I'm sorry guys. Um, I missed the majority of the countertop install, but you'll see me a little bit further doing the full backsplash installs. Um, this is the island. The island was ready, leveled, caulking in. All we got to do is drop it in place and she's all done. Let's carefully hover it over, slide it over, and she's ready. Blah. Right, so in this process, I am actually making the template. This is me going at it, making the template of the full backsplash, and the homeowner didn't want to remove the lights, so you might notice that I'm not butting up to the very bottom of the upper cabinets. I'm just staying an eighth underneath those lights. That's the way they wanted to do it, so okay, that's what we're doing here. So just carefully making sure I'm staying an eighth all the way around. You can essentially tape an eighth shim to your points there, so you know you're at an eighth, but I've gotten pretty good at eyeballing it. So that's just the way I do it. It comes out really good. Here I am doing the template area for the outlets, and that's another step of the process as well. You want to get your outlets, but notice how in this area I'm not going to do the outlets for this side of the backsplash, only because that one that I just did, that was the backsplash behind the range, and that's a fixed piece because it goes in between the two cabinets that are behind or on the sides of the stove, the range. So this is it finished, right? It's all still glued onto the wall with my hot glue gun. But notice on this one right here, I don't have the outlets cut out or marked out, and that's because that fixed one, it being 3/4 thick, is going to move that one around the window seal. So here I am at the shop already, and my buddy Miguel is about to take some notes. There's my boy Miguel, and he's just making sure he understands everything exactly how I'm pointing out to him. Like that area right there, that's going to be a seam. So he'll mark right where the seam is at, just right on there, seam. And he's just double checking with me, making sure he understands my templates well, so there's no confusion and no pointing of the fingers. um, okay, so now we're back inside of the shop. Everything is cut by the CNC machine, and me and my buddy Julian are just fine tuning the full backsplashes. He always cuts it a bit big for me, just in case the template's warped or for whatever reason. But I had measurements just in case, and I knew exactly where the templates were gonna go, so I felt confident with what my templates still said on that day. So I went ahead and just made those marks and made the adjustments. I'm just making the adjustments here with what's left to be cut, which is it's not much at all. It's probably like a 1/4 inch all the way around, or just in a couple areas. So that one is done. There's no polish on that side because it's locked in because it has side pieces on the left and the right that butt into it. When the full backsplash is cut, it's easy to carry right there, right from the outlets. It acts as a little handle, so that's always easier to maneuver once that piece is cut. Now backsplashes, full backsplashes, you're always gonna have an area that has an exposed side. So this is essentially the part of the full backsplash that sticks out past to the right or left of the cabinets. And anything that's exposed, you want to polish it. You don't want to leave it a raw cut. So I go ahead and hit it with the 50 grit, step one. And then I hit it with the number two, which is that teal color. That's the two right there. Just fast forwarding through it, getting rid of that little radius, give it a tiny, I'm sorry, the sharp corner, just give it a little tiny little radius. And that's it. Move it on up, get it loaded, get it ready. This is the next piece. Fine tune this one as well. Has to be polished just a bit. This one was only polished, I believe, one side from what I remember. And it's real quick, doesn't take long. This one does have the outlet. It does have outlets that need to be. Oh, sorry, it's too polished. Um, but it does have outlets that it needs to be cut. But like I said, it was going to have to like move either left or right. In this case, it was gonna have to move to the left. So once I install this piece, then I fix those outlets and make those cuts. All right, so I already dry fit this one. That's why you see me in the step already where I'm caulking everything. When I do a full backsplash install, I always use liquid nails. I want to use the strongest adhesive possible for full backsplash, just because they're essentially standing, and I don't want no issues with it coming forward or anything like that. Worst case scenario, earthquake or whatever. I don't want nothing coming off the wall, so I liquid nail that bad boy right to the wall, and it's not gonna hurt nobody, but keep the backsplash intact. Okay, so this side of the full backsplash, it has a seam on it, right? So I got to mix glue for this as well. So again, I already mixed the color, made the epoxy, get it on that seam, real nice, butter it up real well, making sure I cover everything. And any excess that I have left over of the epoxy, I'll go ahead and put it on the actual full backsplash itself, just to help hold it up eventually. So I'm sorry, essentially. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing there. And she's ready to go up. Now when I bring it up into place, I have the outlets cut out. Before I push it back, pull that outlet out. And then this is where we do a little fiddling with the seam. Once I have it nice and flat, grab the razor blade and remove any of that excess that I might have left on there. And yeah, just make sure I clean it up real well. Don't want to leave anything extra, so I don't have anything extra to have to clean up. Making sure it's nice and flat. Okay, here's the other area that I said was going to have to get moved, and it was. So then after that was done, I put the original template back on there and then made the little template for around the outlets. It's also connected to a little piece under the window sill, so that gets glue on the bottom as well. Slowly pull it up, pull the outlets out, and press it to the back of the backsplash. Nice and slow. Don't need to rush this part, but kind of still working on a bit of time, so that glue does go off. Get rid of that extra. Just clean it up. And make sure I like it. Make sure it's nice and flat. I don't want it sticking out. I don't want to feel a bump there. I want it to be flat. Last pieces, locking it in. 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay, here's the cleaning up part. This is the part we go ahead and just acetone everything, razor blade, making sure I left nothing behind, because we're about to do the presentation to the client, and hopefully he's happy. This was a really fun one. This material was called Fairborn Cambria, and this is the finished result. I appreciate you guys sticking around. If you got this far into the video and watching this, this is my first video. There's going to be more. I'm going to get better at this, I promise. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something. please like and subscribe to my video or to my channel if you guys really enjoyed it, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm definitely gonna start doing a lot more of these. The next video should be quartzite. God bless. Bye.